Okay, and we are recording. Ben March, how are you, buddy? Are you okay?
Yeah, good. Thanks, Keith. Can't complain. Hope you're well as well.
I'm really good. And thank you so much for joining me on this kind of a summary call to just wrap up your time and to hear all about what you've done. You completed 60 days alcohol-free on the program with me. I'm sure you can introduce yourself and we'll get into the nitty-gritty around how it went for you. So over to you, Ben.
Yeah, absolutely. Welcome, everyone. My name's Ben. I recently completed Keith's 60-day program, still going strong, so up to day 94 now. So just sort of happy to share my experiences with Keith, just see if it can, support or help anyone else who's thinking of taking a break from alcohol and, getting healthy.
Thank you so much. Day 94. Wow, that has flown, hasn't it?
I know.
So you're nearly at 100.
Yeah. Yeah.
What are you going to do for a century? You're just going to walk around like lifting your hat off?
Well, I don't know. I'm sure I'll get a little notification on the app to say, well done. But I think it's, if anything, once I got past day 60, it's just become a habit of not drinking. To be honest, I don't even notice it.
Yeah, well, great, and we're going to talk about your succession plan, should we say? Bring me back, bring me right back, Ben, to what would be now. It would have been around probably August time. Talk to me about where were you? What role was alcohol playing in your life, and what kind of brought you to the point of saying, I might have a look at changing this up a bit?
Yes, I think so. Going back to August when I first reached out to you, I think for me, alcohol become part of not the daily routine, almost a daily routine, sort of the habit of, you have a few drinks over the weekend, then you go back to work, take a break Monday, Tuesday, that was a stressful day, got a bit of wine left over from the Sunday, you finish that, and then maybe have a bit more on the couple of glasses on the Wednesday, and before you know it, you've drunken every day. It's the weekend again. So for me, it was, I wanted to make a change. I wanted to deep down get back into my running, which I did a lot of before my daughter was born 5 years ago. And, I struggled to change when I would go out running, and, it just wasn't working for me because, you'd have a drink and then you're waking up all groggy, hazy the next day.
Yeah.
It was just making normal everyday life stresses more stressful and normal everyday anxieties more anxious.
Yeah, and that comes up again and again with so many people, Ben. Tell me this then. So you're probably what you'd categorize. You were call it a midweek drinker, a middle lane drinker. There wasn't these kind of big crescendo kind of binges like that were building up. So you were drinking probably in the week. What did that look like? What was that? Was it grabbing some beers on the way home from work? What did that look like for you?
Well, it'd normally be grab a bottle of wine, have a couple of glasses of wine. Sometimes like share it with the wife and whatnot. But there was always, it was just a bit too regular for my liking. There wasn't really the breaks. It was just more of it just became that habit of like in my head, it's been a really stressful day, I'll just reach for a glass instead of actually putting that stress and into something else a lot more useful.
It is, and it's a go-to, isn't it? It's just the default of where we go. And I know how well you kind of worked through this when we did the program. I said to you, you absolutely nailed the program. Like for me, like, the things that we send out the daily vlogs, we do our daily gratitude. You were reading the book that I suggested, and then listening to the podcast. How was it for you, if you were kind of describing it to other people, starting the process, and was it tough? How did it go for you when you kind of decided, I'm ready to make a change?
Yes, I think it mixed emotions because it was tough to start with, because you're trying to think of like you're thinking ahead. You're thinking of like the day 61, what it's going to be like. But then very quickly it was, you realise you need to go into it with an open mind, and actually, very much like what you do on the program, is you do the building blocks. You start off just concentrating on one thing, then layer something else whilst continuing the other side of it. And it's, you know, I would say to anyone, you go into it with an open mind, but don't try and take on too much. It's like when, you know, we have it's typical thing of New Year's resolutions, where you have about 10 New Year's resolutions and you don't stick to any of them because you've got too many. So you just stick into those building blocks there to make it sustainable at the end of the day and make those habits pleasurable.
I like that. And you say that we kind of layer it up, because there is a kind of an ideal pathway to where you want to get to. Quite evidently then, we knew after a few weeks with you that we had alcohol in a place where you wanted it, where you weren't, you know, reaching for it, you didn't miss a day. After 2 or 3 weeks, we started to look at other things, didn't we? We started to look at other aspects of your life. Would you share a bit of that? And what was that like? Because some people think, well, if I'm just not drinking for 60 days, but it's about looking at all the different areas of your life.
Yeah, so we, you know, first and foremost, we started off with like stop drinking, but then that's where we started talking about looking at your diet and, you know, is that, you know, in the place where you want it to be? What changes do you need to make? Do you need to make drastic changes or little changes? Looking at your daily routines with regards to how you call it movement. It's not about, you know, going out and doing, you know, 10-mile runs every morning. It's about moving in one shape or another. And then just looking at sort of, you know, stress indicators, how I would manage those, and the differences between, you know, how I perhaps manage them and perceive them when I was drinking to when I wasn't. And the, you know, the changes were phenomenal. Stress
and anxiety comes up all the time. Everyone has stress. We cannot protect ourselves from stress. Tell me, how did quitting alcohol help you better handle stress and anxiety, Ben?
I was thinking about this today, funny enough, only because we're talking, we're going to talk about it, but like where I've, you know, near reaching 100 days, I've got now the time I can reflect back quite easily. And you know what, it's amazing the change, even after a week, 2 weeks, whereby you'd think through stressful situations, you'd have much more logical thinking, you wouldn't be as stressed in those situations, and you almost take it in your stride, like you know, perhaps you normally should do. So whether it's, you know, you're covering work at work for someone else, or you're you know, you've got lots of deadlines happening at once, or you're working and your daughter's off sick from school, you're trying to juggle all that, you are approaching a much more logical and calm approach compared to, you know, reaching for a glass of wine or trying to like do lots of things in the evening for work and, you know, that sort of stuff, just trying to be a keyboard warrior at 10 o'clock at night, that sort of thing. You
kind of create space, I suppose, don't you? And it's a bit like when you fill up a glass of water, your stresses are filling up and eventually it overflows. But I think when you remove alcohol, when your diet is decent, when you're exercising regularly, you've got a lot of room to handle the stresses that life can bring at you, and it just gives you that ability. And when that stressful point comes in your day later on, you can probably go, okay, I can handle this.
Absolutely. I think for me, what I was doing, my work from my point of view is improved greatly, because actually what I'm not doing, I'm able to do the same task but not have to worry about, you know, quickly doing it at night, because I was worried about an email that had come through. I'd tackle that first thing in the morning swiftly, because you're just being a lot more consistent.
I love that. Now, after I think it was a month or so, you turned around to me and said, Keith, I've got something to tell you. And I was like, all right, here we go. He's quitting. He's quitting. He's jacking it in. And you said, I'm not going to go back to drinking alcohol, because your first port of call was to do 60 days.
Yes.
What made you make the decision to not only take the 60 days, but continue it, and to pretty much say, I don't want to go back to alcohol? What made you come to that decision?
Yeah, because when I mean, my first conversation, when I went into it, it was more about, I was really focused about just changing the relationship with alcohol. So I was, you know, it wasn't even on my radar to give it up. It was more about when I finish those 60 days, I want to go back to really healthy habits, only drinking on occasions and whatnot. But it was a combination. I was reading book you recommend, Annie Grace's book,
To Make It Mine.
Fantastic book, recommend it to anyone out there. And spending that time in the morning where I was getting up early and having sort of the reflection and sort of me time in the morning, whether it was going out for runs or whatnot. And actually, I just thought I enjoy how I feel as a overall without alcohol. And I think that made me realise that perhaps actually deep down inside, I was actually ready. I've done the teenage years, done the early 20s, done the early 30s where you've got a bit more money and you can go to classier places for and whatnot. I'm ready to focus more on me and my family.
I love that. And it's it's putting yourself first, isn't it? And indirectly, if you're in a better version, then your family are getting a better version of you. Just on that, what has been the impact on you and on your family with you giving up alcohol?
Yeah, well, I think first and foremost, extra money in my pocket because you're not spending it on that. A lot more patient parent. I think there's always those stresses as a parent, and you've got you can become impatient, but I think alcohol just adds to the lack of patience and whatnot. And I think a phrase that we use a lot, I'm just much more present. I'm in the moment. I'm there. You like a term you've used, you're not being selfish. I think you're doing that all the time. It's a bit selfish in a way sometimes.
People will want to know, what do you mean by saying that you're more present and you're just there? Because it's branded around. I think I know what you mean. Just explain to me, if you could give us an example. What does it mean when you're saying I'm more present, I'm more available to my family?
Probably the way I'd probably sum it up is, when you give up alcohol and a break from alcohol, you've got so much more energy and you're not tired, you're not groggy. So from the moment you get up, you've got the energy and you've got the patience and the want to be present. You're not thinking like, right, I need to get rid of this haziness, right, I need to have a bacon sandwich or whatnot, and then you're thinking, oh, it's the weekend, so actually might have a mid-afternoon football match on.
Is it beer o'clock yet?
Beer o'clock yet. And exactly, you're much more present. You're not out and about doing family stuff and you think, nice, I could do with a beer now. It's been a long old day. You're just much more. That's probably how I would sum it up.
It is, and you're nearly looking for excuses to have a beer. Whether you know it or not, you're thinking, is there a game on? Can we go somewhere? I remember like trying to cut short the kids' activities, because I knew I was going home, or even bring the kids' activities, and we go somewhere and we go to the pub, and it was just trying to bring it in. People will want to know about the physical benefits, because I'm banging this drum, for a couple of years now, trying to explain to people it's like a game changer. It's like having a newfound drug. Tell us, and really 90 days is a relatively short period of time that you're still on this. What physical benefits have you noticed in 90 days?
So I've already mentioned energy levels through the roof. Sleep was the first thing I noticed. That was I'm going to say mind-blowing. It really surprised me. So even like the first week, just the fact I was just getting better sleep. It was, instead of being half awake leading up to my alarm, the alarm would have to wake me up. Be in such a deep sleep. And
you were getting up early. You were getting up was it just after 5?
Yeah, well, I was getting up about 5:30 anyway, 5:30, 6 anyway. But even when I started that, getting up at the same time, I was having to be woken up by the alarm. But again, it's your skin's clearer, less puffiness, and the weight loss. Is until you return to perhaps your normal weight. Not that I know exactly how much weight I've lost. I had battery gate where I hadn't changed the batteries in my scales for God knows how long. But
that old chestnut.
But I can clearly, I know for a fact it's easily as a minimum 2 stone I've lost in that time.
Huge.
So it does start to fall off, much to the annoyance of my wife, because only men can always lose it quicker, she says.
and you'll have to buy a new set of clothes now, losing all this weight.
Yeah, well, yeah, on the back, gone from the last belt notch to the first one.
That's class. I love that.
That's great.
I love that. What would you say to someone, because guys will be watching this, and some are sober curious, some people are like, you know, I remember I used to hear of other people and think, oh, what would that be like, or could I ever do it? And I have gone and done it. You've gone and done it. What would you say to guys that are thinking about doing it? What would you say?
Don't be afraid. It's you know, your only positives are going to come out of it. But if you are going to do it, you've got to go in with it, both feet, both hands, and not treat it like something like we said at the start. Don't treat it like dry January, where, you know, once you get, whether you do the 30 days or 6 days, whatever, don't treat it whereby 61st day, like once you finished, you go on absolute bender, because it's not about that. It's about finding yourself, resetting your body, and, you know, learning healthier habits and sustainable habits at the end of the day. That's for me, that's the key. Yeah,
so true, isn't it, Ben? Because sustainable, that you can do it, because consistency is boring, but consistency is sexy in one way, because it just gets you those results. And think longer term. And if you're doing something, it's got to be able to be reproduced several times, if not every day. And that is so true when you say that. And when you say, like, to be full on in, to be ready to do it. And the dry January syndrome is a classic, isn't it? We know people at midnight, they've taken selfies. People take selfies at midnight, and they've kind of missed the trick. They've missed the trick, because the whole point of maybe staying off the booze was to feel good, to sleep better, to lose weight, and to see all that, and to go and do that. So no, I totally, I know what you mean there, and I agree with that. That is class. Has it helped you professionally, being alcohol free in any way?
Yeah, I mean, from my point of view, it just means I can just really got a lot better concentration at work, just managing tasks better, you know, that sort of thing. And it's only had a positive effect. It's just, you know, not getting stressed at working. Well, you get the normal work stresses that come with being a manager and whatnot, but you're able to deal with them better, and, you know, able to, from my point of view, multitask a lot better and not be overwhelmed and stressed. And that, for me, that helps helps everyone else in the company as well as myself.
Definitely. And finally then, I know you recently went away on a nice family holiday. What was that like? Because this was something that lots of people will associate being on holidays with having some beers or cocktails or whatever. What's it like going away on a family holiday and being alcohol free? What was it like for you?
You know what? It was, I don't want to say a lot better than I thought it would be, but it was actually, I found it absolutely fine, because you'll be surprised the amount of alcohol free options there are out there, you know, moving away soft drinks aside, but there's plenty of alcohol free options there. And do you know what, it's actually, especially when you go, I went to Spain, it was still hot at that time of year, a few weeks back, but, you know, it was just nice. It was, you know, there's plenty there. You're not going to be, you know, it's not like you're going to Ibiza and you're like shots every time, but there's options there. And I think you've got to, you know, whether it's do a bit of research beforehand, if you're anxious about doing it, you know, I still do that now if we're going to restaurants, we'll just have a indication just to check it hasn't got my least favorite alcohol free beer on the menu and whatnot. But it was, you know, it was actually, I enjoyed it far more than perhaps previous holidays where it's been right down the pub for the €1 local beers to watch the afternoon Man City game at 3 o'clock on a Sunday in Spain. It was fantastic. It was just, again, I was just able to be more present. We were able to do stuff. I was out running every other morning along the beach. Not like I've seen out of Rocky, but I was able to get out and explore. And it was just a different side to holiday.
Love that. Now, speaking of running, you started this journey with me, and we fill out a questionnaire. You fill out a questionnaire that I asked you to do, and it gives me a bit of an idea, a bit of a picture of kind of where you're at, and also we do some kind of goal setting in that. And one of your goals was to complete a 10K and to get back into regular running, because that was something you were doing before your daughter was born. So first of all, my question was, did you get back into running, and did you complete your 10K challenge?
Yes, so I 100% got him back into running, and that was the big thing for me, the accountability of getting up and going out for a run at 5 o'clock, because that was the whole issue that we spoke about at the start. Is back in the day, I would get home from work and go out for the run. That would be my time to go out and run. But then daughter's born, I don't want to do that, because you get home, you don't want to be going straight out and then she's going to bed. So we switched it to in the morning, both feet. Eventually managed to do the 10K because I was sick on the first one I booked. Completed it
in a very respectable time.
I was happy with just over an hour. I could do that was quicker than the first one I ever did when I was younger and lighter and a bit more nippier. So completed that very recently, and then obviously just moving on, like set my next goal of, obviously the natural progression is to move on from a 10K to a 50K ultra in June. So
this is it. This is the magic. So you've gone from, you were saying you were struggling to run 2 or 3K. You've trained pretty much most days and definitely every other day. You did your 10K, you've got a really good time, and now you've entered an ultra marathon. Like, that's just amazing. How does that feel?
Daunting. Like, have I made a massive mistake? But no, the way I saw it, my goals for next year were going to be to do a half marathon and a marathon anyway. So it was always going to be the half marathon as part of the training for the marathon. But then came across this ultra marathon, literally 20 minutes down the road from where I work, and I'll be finishing. The finish is actually where I work, so it's all local. But for me, reflecting back, this is kind of a reward for me in the sense of, I know that I'd never be able to do a 50K ultra if I was drinking at all. I've done half marathons and a marathon when I had been drinking, but this is kind of this is what I can do when I'm not drinking, and I'll do it for charity as well. So
it's a new chapter in your life, isn't it? To say, I'm moving on, and I'm Ben. I'm living alcohol free, and the key word is there. I am living. I'm living alcohol free, and then when you remove the alcohol, you can literally do whatever you want to do. Running an ultra marathon, wow! When they bring out the book, that is going to be a good chapter, isn't it?
Yes, absolutely. I think one thing to say on that as well is, where I'm now doing the runs, getting up at 5 in the morning. Yeah, people might think that's crazy, but it gives me plenty of time to do those runs that then doesn't affect work or family life. So you're not. So, previously on a weekend, if I was having to do the runs that we've got to do for this training plan where it's like, 30K some Saturdays, that'd be my whole Saturday wiped out, because I'd be going out at perhaps 10 o'clock. But you know what? If it's like that, I'll just have to get up at 4 o'clock and go out and do it like that.
Yeah, and you actually get to do everything, don't you? When you're alcohol free, you can do more. You can do that. You can go and do your run. You can come home. You can have breakfast with your family. You can go out to the day event, and you can watch the football in the afternoon or the evening. And you're able to do it all. You have the energy. Ben March, it's been fantastic. Thank you so much for your time. We are definitely going to be. I think we're going to have to check in on you again 6 months, and then definitely before the ultra. You've inspired me. I've also entered an ultra as well. So that is something. Thank you so much for doing the program, and thank you so much for sharing your how it's been for you.
Oh, thank you. Thank you.
Fantastic.